It is a universally understood modern frustration. You are out and about, you reach into your pocket, and your smartphone battery is hovering at like 2%.
Oh, the absolute worst feeling.
Right. The screen dims, the apps start lagging, and the device just fundamentally stops doing what it was built to do. I mean, it has spent all day searching for signals, processing background data, absorbing all these endless streams of information, and it has completely drained its reserves.
The output has completely depleted the input. It is essentially running on fumes at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It desperately needs to be plugged in and just left alone to recalibrate. And until you introduce a secondary power source to reverse that flow, its functionality is going to remain compromised.
Right. There is no way around the physics of it.
Yeah. And what is really fascinating to me is that if you talk to anyone who works closely with crystals, they will tell you that the exact same thermodynamic principle applies to those beautiful stones sitting on your desk or, your nightstand.
It really does. It is the exact same concept.
So today's deep dive is dedicated entirely to that phenomena. We were pulling from a really comprehensive guide by Crystals by Rob, and it's titled Luminous Purification, a guide to selenite bowl crystal care.
It is a fantastic resource.
It really is. So our mission today for you, the listener, is to decode the actual mechanics of what the guide calls energetic hygiene.
I love that term, energetic hygiene.
Right. Because just like your phone absorbs a ton of invisible Wi-Fi and cellular data and eventually needs a serious recharge, crystals absorb energetic data from your environment. And they absolutely need a timeout.
They really do. So we are going to examine the underlying mechanisms of how to reset the energetic field of your collection and how to do it safely and efficiently.
Because you can actually damage them, right?
Oh, absolutely. Which is why we will be looking closely at why one very specific mineral selenite operates on a completely different frequency than traditional cleansing methods. And, the physics of why its specific geometry matters so much.
Okay, so let's unpack this. But before we even talk about selenite, we need to understand the problem it is trying to solve. The source material outlines this concept of crystal fatigue.
Right, crystal fatigue.
Because to the average person, a rock is just a rock. But in this context, these are considered highly conductive energy tools, whether they are just sitting in your living room, absorbing the, chaotic day-to-day tension of a busy household, or you are actively using them for deep emotional work. They accumulate stagnant energy.
Conductivity is really the key word there. In the world of crystal healing, stones are viewed as crystalline lattices that hold and transfer energy.
Kind of like how quartz is used in watches, right?
Exactly. Similar to how quartz is used in electronics because of its piezoelectric properties, it generates an electrical charge under mechanical stress.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but that conductivity works both ways. When a crystal accumulates too much dense, unwanted energetic residue, it hits a saturation point.
So it just gets full.
Yes. The guide points out that a fatigued crystal might literally lose its physical shine. It can start to look cloudy or dull.
Wait, really? It physically changes?
It can, yeah. And more importantly, when you hold it, it might feel heavy, uncomfortable, or even draining. Its baseline frequency has just been completely bogged down by the environmental noise it has absorbed.
It is like a sponge that has soaked up way too much dirty water.
That is a great analogy.
Right, because it can't clean your kitchen counter anymore because it is completely saturated with grease.
Mm-hmm.
Pushing it around just makes a bigger mess.
Which means you have to extract the grease before the sponge is useful again. And this brings us to selenite.
The star of the show.
The star of the show. The mineral itself is a translucent, pearly white, crystalline form of gypsum.
Okay, gypsum.
And it gets its name from Selene, the Greek goddess of the moon. This is because the water molecules trapped inside its crystalline structure give it this incredible luminous glow.
It is a beautiful stone.
It really is. But beyond the aesthetics, the internal structure of selenite gives it a naturally high-frequency vibration that does something very specific. It effortlessly dissolves negative, dense energies.
I want to pause on that because the guide makes a really crucial distinction here that honestly blew my mind. There is a difference between cleansing a crystal and charging a crystal.
Yes, a very big difference.
See, I always assumed those were just two words for the exact same thing. Like you clean it, you charge it, same deal.
A lot of people think that, but they represent two very different mechanical processes. Cleansing is the act of resetting the energy field. It is removing the unwanted stagnant energy the crystal has absorbed.
So like emptying the trash bin on your computer.
Exactly, emptying the trash. Charging, on the other hand, is about replenishing and amplifying its natural power. It restores the crystal's vitality.
Like plugging the computer into the wall.
Right. And most traditional methods do one or the other. You might use smoke to cleanse or sunlight to charge.
But selenite does both. The source says it naturally transmutes negative energy. What does that actually mean conceptually? Is the bad energy just vanishing into thin air?
Well, when we talk about transmutation, think of it like a catalytic converter in a car.
Okay, a car part. I am with you.
So a catalytic converter takes toxic exhaust gases, passes them through a highly reactive metal structure, and forces a chemical reaction that breaks the pollutants down into harmless water vapor and carbon dioxide.
It neutralizes the bad stuff.
Exactly. Selenite acts as an energetic catalytic converter. It doesn't just hold on to the negativity it absorbs. It's a neutralizing it entirely.
That is wild.
Yeah, and because of its continuous high vibrational output, placing a fatigued crystal near selenite simultaneously strips away the dense debris, which is the cleansing part, while the high frequency boosts the stone's baseline energy.
Which is the charging part.
Precisely, charging it right back up.
Okay, so if a regular crystal is like a sponge soaking up our stress, selenite is basically a self-cleaning sponge that also acts as a wireless charging pad for all the other sponges.
I mean, that paints a perfect picture of the dual action process. It handles the extraction and the replenishment at the exact same time.
Okay, I am fully on board with selenite being a powerhouse, but I'm looking at this guide, and it insists on a very specific form of the mineral.
The bowl.
Right. We aren't talking about a raw, jagged chunk of selenite or a flat slab you rest things on. The focus is entirely on the selenite bowl. And from a physics standpoint, I don't get it. Why does the geometry matter so much here? Why isn't a flat slab just as effective?
Well, geometry dictates how energy moves.
Okay.
On a purely physical, practical level, the concave shape of a bowl solves a frustrating problem. It stops small, tumbled stones or perfectly rounded crystal spheres from rolling off the edge and shattering on the floor.
Fair point. I've definitely lost a few stones that way.
Right. You can safely contain multiple stones at once. But the true energetic value lies in how curved surfaces interact with waves. Think about a satellite dish or a parabolic reflector in a telescope.
Oh, they catch signals and bounce them to the center.
Exactly. A flat slab emits energy diffusely. It scatters it outward in all directions. But the curvature of a bowl acts like an energetic lens.
An energetic lens, I like that.
It takes selenite's natural high-frequency emission and reflects it inward, amplifying that field into a concentrated space. The bowl creates a localized, highly concentrated amplification chamber. The energy is just constantly bouncing back onto the stones resting inside.
Wow, okay. This makes so much sense when you contrast it with how we normally try to clean things.
Yeah.
Because when I think about cleansing something naturally, my mind immediately goes to the physical element.
Like water or sun.
Yeah, exactly. I think of scrubbing a stone under running water in a stream or leaving it out on a windowsill to bake in the bright afternoon sunlight. We just naturally assume those elements are pure, benign, and universally good for natural objects.
It is a very common assumption.
But the guide is very explicit about the dangers of those elemental methods.
Yes. The elements can be incredibly destructive if you don't understand the chemical makeup of your collection. Water is a prime example.
How so?
Well, if you take a softer, porous stone like malachite and try to wash it, you aren't just cleansing it energetically. Malachite is a copper carbonate hydroxide.
Okay, getting into the chemistry.
Yeah, when you submerge it in water, especially warm or acidic water, it can actually release toxic copper fumes, and it will begin to degrade its physical structure.
Wait, toxic fumes? From washing a rock?
Yes, and other stones, like halite, will literally dissolve into a puddle because it is just rock salt.
Oh my gosh, which is terrifying if you have an expensive or rare piece. I would be devastated if my collection just melted away in the sink.
It happens more often than you'd think, and sunlight carries similar structural risks.
Really, sunlight hurts them too.
Prolonged UV exposure will literally bleach the color right out of certain crystalline structures.
Oh, wow.
Take amethyst and citrine, for example. They get their beautiful purple and yellow hues from specific iron impurities and natural irradiation. When you leave them in direct, harsh sunlight, the UV radiation physically displaces electrons in the crystal lattice.
So they just fade.
They fade rapidly and permanently.
So relying on the elements is essentially playing Russian roulette with your collection, unless you have a degree in geology.
Exactly. And this is why the bowl is framed as revolutionary. It provides a completely dry, non-invasive method.
No water, no sun.
Right. There is no physical friction, no chemical reaction, no moisture, and no UV radiation. The physical integrity, the structure, and the vibrant color of even the most delicate water-soluble crystals are perfectly preserved.
It acts as a universal safe zone.
It completely removes the anxiety of accidentally ruining your valuable stones. You can focus entirely on the energetic process.
Let us get into the actual execution of that process then. We have this safe, amplifying parabolic chamber. How do we use it? Because reading through the source, it is clearly not just about blindly dumping rocks into a dish like it is a bowl for your car keys by the front door.
No, not at all. There is a specific methodology. The ritual requires intention.
Okay, walk me through it.
Step 1 is preparing the bowl itself. This means gently wiping it with a dry cloth to make sure there is no physical dust or debris blocking the contact.
Okay, simple enough.
Step 2 is ensuring the crystals you are putting in the bowl are also physically dry and free of dirt. You want direct, unhindered contact between the fatigue stone and the selenite surface.
And then we get to step 3, which honestly threw me for a loop. Setting an intention.
Ah, yes.
The guide emphasizes taking a moment, creating a calm space, gazing at the stones, and clearly visualizing the desired outcome. You literally speak or think a command like, I cleanse this crystal of all negative energy. But if the bowl is a passive high-frequency tool, why do I have to think about it working? I mean, if my wireless charger is plugged into the wall, I don't have to meditate on my smartphone for the battery to fill up.
That is a really great analogy, but crystal energy is inherently responsive to human consciousness.
Really?
Yes. In this framework, think of the crystal as a blank hard drive with a baseline operating system. Your intention is the specific software you are choosing to run.
Oh, interesting.
The human brain emits its own measurable electromagnetic frequencies. When you focus your mind, visualize an outcome, and speak an intention, you are essentially creating a coherent frequency of your own.
So I'm coupling my brain's frequency with the stone steady state.
You're directing the flow. The selenite bowl provides a massive raw pool of high-frequency energy. That is the engine. But your intention tells that energy how to behave and where to go. Whether you need deep emotional healing, boundary protection, or mental clarity, the bowl's natural vibration works in harmony with your visualization to amplify those specific properties within the stones. Your intention steers the car.
Okay, so if my brain is providing the software and the bowl is the engine, how long does that process actually take to run? Let's say I have a stressful meeting in an hour.
Okay.
Can I just drop my pocket stone into the bowl for a quick 20-minute power nap to get it ready, or is there a strict time requirement? Because step 4 of the guide says to leave them for a minimum of 24 hours.
Well, a 20-minute rest won't hurt, but it won't give you the deep reset you are looking for. The 24-hour rule relies on a concept called resonance entrainment.
A resonance entrainment.
Yes. When you have two vibrating bodies in this case, the chaotic, heavy frequency of the fatigued crystal and the steady, high frequency of the selenite, the stronger vibration will eventually force the weaker one to synchronize with its rhythm.
Oh, like pendulum clocks on a wall eventually swinging in unison.
Exactly like that. But that synchronization takes time. Allowing the stones to rest in that concentrated amplification chamber for a full 24-hour cycle ensures that every layer of stagnant energy is fully transmuted.
So you can't rush it.
No, it ensures the crystal's own energetic reserves are thoroughly saturated and amplified. It is a deep clean rather than just a quick dusting.
That makes total sense. It needs time to do the heavy lifting.
Hmm.
But if 24 hours is the baseline for a normal day, what happens when a stone is completely overwhelmed?
What do you mean?
Let us say you've been doing some extremely heavy emotional trauma work, or the stone has been sitting in a highly toxic environment and the baseline just isn't cutting it. Does the bowl have a ceiling on what it can handle?
The bowl can handle a massive load, but you can accelerate and supercharge the process through synergy.
Synergy, like combining methods.
Yes. Selenite plays incredibly well with other holistic methods. You can layer different sensory and energetic practices to create a multi-dimensional clearing process that attacks the stagnant energy from different angles.
Like the smudging. The guide mentions smudging as the first layer.
Exactly. Incorporating scent and smoke. Burning sage or palo santo over the crystals before placing them in the bowl.
How does that help, physically?
Well, on a microscopic level, smoke is made of physical particulate matter. When you pass a stone through thick smoke, those particulates can bind to the dense, heavy energetic ions clinging to the crystal.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, it acts as an immediate disruptor, breaking up the thickest layers of negativity so the selenite can more easily dissolve the remainder.
It also talks about sound healing, which I find fascinating from a physical perspective. The use of Tibetan singing bowls, tuning forks, or even small bells. How does making a noise next to a rock actually clean it?
Well, sound is mechanical energy. It travels through the air as acoustic pressure waves.
Okay.
When you strike a tuning fork or play a singing bowl, you are sending literal physical vibrations through the room.
So it's shaking them.
Precisely. When those acoustic waves hit the crystalline lattice of the stones resting in the bowl, they physically shake the structure at a microscopic level. It is like cymatics,
Cymatics.
using sound to organize matter. The sound wave knocks stagnant, trapped energy loose. It synergizes perfectly with the selenite's own frequency to provide a sonic power wash.
A sonic power wash. That is amazing. You've got the scent of the smoke, the mechanical acoustic waves of the bells, and the visual focus of your intention. It is an incredibly rich, holistic ritual.
It really engages all the senses.
But here's the detail that completely blew my mind. The environmental bonus of just having the bowl around.
Yes, the EMF buffering.
Right. The source notes that selenite naturally absorbs and buffers electromagnetic radiation. The guide suggests that even if the bowl is completely empty, no crystals in it at all, just sitting it next to my laptop is actively working to harmonize my home office. How does a rock buffer Wi-Fi?
It comes down to its properties as an insulator. Gypsum is a dielectric material,
Dielectric.
meaning it doesn't conduct electricity well, but it can support an electrostatic field. The guide explains the energetic mechanics by suggesting that selenite's internal structure can scatter or absorb certain low-level, chaotic electromagnetic frequencies emitted by modern screens and devices.
So it catches the static.
By constantly emitting its own steady, high-frequency vibration, it creates a localized buffer zone. It is a pocket of energetic calm that disrupts the dense static of our tech-heavy spaces.
It is basically acting as a passive air purifier for vibes.
That is a very modern way to put it, but yes.
Which is incredibly practical. But if this selenite bowl is doing all this nonstop heavy lifting, absorbing EMFs from our laptops, cleansing our other stones, breaking down our emotional negativity, how do we take care of the caretaker?
Yes. Maintenance.
It can't be invincible to all that wear and tear.
Right, it is definitely not invincible. In fact, physically it is incredibly vulnerable.
Like the malachite in water.
Worse. The golden rule of selenite maintenance, which cannot be overstated, is no water, period.
Right, because the hydrate part of calcium sulfate dihydrate means it already has water trapped inside it.
Precisely. Because it already has water molecules integrated into its crystalline lattice, it eagerly bonds with outside moisture.
Oh, that makes sense.
If you expose a selenite bowl to a heavy rainstorm or try to wash it in the sink to get the dust off, the internal bonds will easily break apart. The mineral will literally begin to dissolve into a chalky paste.
Okay, let me push back on that for a second. If it is that sensitive to moisture, what happens if you live in a super humid climate?
Like Florida or Louisiana.
Yeah. Does my selenite bowl just slowly melt into the atmosphere over a few years?
Ambient humidity won't cause it to melt like an ice cube on a hot sidewalk, but you absolutely want to avoid leaving it in naturally damp areas of the house.
So no bathrooms.
Right. No bathrooms, no basements, or unsealed patios. You need to keep it in a dry, climate-controlled space. And beyond the water issue, you also have to be mindful of its physical softness.
Is it brittle?
It only sits at a 2 on the Mohs hardness scale. You have to handle it very gently, being careful not to scratch or gouge the surface with harder stones like quartz or topaz.
Oh, so dumping a heavy quartz point into it could scratch it up.
Definitely. And as we mentioned earlier with amethyst, prolonged direct sunlight is also an enemy.
Because it bleaches it.
It can dry out those internal water molecules, causing the selenite to turn brittle and lose its pearly luster entirely.
Okay, so no water, no sharp objects, no baking in the sun. How do we recharge it? Because even a self-cleaning catalytic converter eventually needs some maintenance to keep running optimally.
To recharge the caretaker, you simply wipe it gently with a dry microfiber cloth.
Just a dry cloth.
Yes, to remove any physical dust that might block its energetic emission. And then you place it under the moonlight.
Tying right back to its namesake, Selene, the goddess of the moon. Why moonlight specifically, as opposed to just leaving it in a dark room?
Well, moonlight is essentially reflected sunlight, but it has been stripped of the harsh, direct, damaging UV intensity.
Oh.
It provides gentle, steady photon energy. Placing the bowl under the resonant frequency of a full moon bathes the selenite in pure, cool light. It re-excites its crystalline lattice and restores its optimal vibrational output without any of the destructive heat or radiation risks associated with the sun.
It really is a complete self-sustaining ecosystem when you understand the physics and chemistry behind it.
It is beautifully designed by nature.
So bringing this all together for you, the listener,
Mm-hmm.
what is the ultimate takeaway from this deep dive into crystals by Rob's Guide? Whether you are someone who is actively doing heavy, intentional spiritual work every single day, or you just have a few decorative stones on your bookshelf that you want to keep looking and feeling vibrant, a selenite bowl is the ultimate non-invasive shortcut.
It really simplifies everything.
It requires no chemical exposure. It requires no complicated, messy maintenance. It completely removes the guesswork of, will this water damage my stone, or will this sunlight bleach my crystal? You wipe it with a dry cloth, you set your intentions, and you let the parabolic shape and high-frequency vibration do the work.
And if we look closely at that process of setting intentions, it leaves us with something quite profound to consider regarding our own energetic hygiene.
Oh. Where are you going with this?
Well, the guide emphasizes that your focused intention is what directs the crystal's energy. Think about the physical act of executing this ritual.
Right.
To use the selenite bowl effectively, you have to stop what you are doing. You have to turn off your phone. You have to find a quiet space. You have to sit still, take a deep breath, and gaze at your stones.
You have to physically and mentally slow down.
Right. You have to disconnect from the chaos. You have to actively visualize a positive outcome, and then you have to speak your intentions clearly and purposefully.
So you're forcing yourself to be present.
Exactly. So it raises a really fascinating question. As those stones sit in that bowl over the next 24 hours, transmuting dense energy, is the selenite bowl just cleansing your crystals?
Wait, I see what you're saying.
Or is the entire ritual actually designed from the very first breath to force you to pause, focus, and cleanse your own mind?
Oh, wow. Now that is something to think about next time you feel your own internal battery dropping to 2%.